pulling, it won't open, it's no good and I'm wide awake now. I can't get no sleep.
The Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. We would not be where we are without the incredible support of John and the team. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is hot off the presser. Well, it's kind of lukewarm after the presser. For the first time in, I can't remember how long, I've missed a Sheffield United press conference. I've been at 90-day planning today with my business group. Brilliant day. I am now set for the next 90 days. Thank you to John and the team for everything that you do for me and the channel. Best business coach around. This is hot off the presser. We are sponsored by High Point Access for this show usually. I've had to use more of a generic intro though, because they're all set up and it's all that fancy dance stuff where they're all set up for their own thing. But I can't bring a second person on with the hot off the presser current setup, and I didn't have time because I've only just walked through the door because I went straight from Sheffield to pick girls up from school, and now I'm back. So I've only just sat down. And I've set up a generic stream where I can bring more than one person in, because I am not going to be the one that takes you through this press conference today. It's going to be the man, the myth, the legend, Paul the Man Mountain. Oh, it's not even worked. Come on.
This is the view from the mountain with a heart so pure it's astounding. Man Mountain, strong and true. What a man, what a view.
I was like,
What a man, what a view. Seamless, mate. Seamless. How's it going, pal?
yeah, very good. Thank you, pal. You well?
Yes, I'm all right. Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you. So you have recorded and now quickly watched the press conference from Chris Wilder. How's your hand, mate? How's your handwriting? Is it aching?
Yeah, it's not
after?
bad. Just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Just the 6 sides. Only a little notebook today. And I could tell that Wilder was in a hurry, and I'll tell you why in a minute as well.
Oh, mate, I know. Sorry to have asked you to pick that up for us, but I was completely unavailable, and I know you could have done it later on in the day for me. So, thank you for picking this up, mate. And yeah, talk to me about the press conference. Then, what did we miss?
Well, it started off with Wilder trying to manage some expectations. To be honest, I think he started off by kind of admitting that he'd over-egged it a little bit in the build-up to the first week in terms of, he used the term, got caught up in the game a little bit. And I think that was the same for his supporters. I said it last night. Just get rid of that shine off my face there, I'll do. Seamless, Jim, seamless.
Nice. We're such pros, aren't we?
Such pros. No, so yeah, brighten up a bit.
Look at this.
Yeah,
nice.
no, mate. You know, just
beautiful.
I can't afford a crew like you. There's about 4 people who decided.
They're all here. Yeah, hi guys.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
All on a salary.
We're
Don't
on
worry
air.
about that.
Yeah. Keep it down, guys.
But no, he said they got caught up in the game, and he just sort of said that, he thought it was all just a little bit too hyped, and I think that maybe that got to the players a little bit in terms of the performance last week. Some positives and some negatives to go with the performance, but he tells us about that a bit later. He said what a great club we are. So he's bigging us up, first of all, because to be on the street that we've been on and to have 30,000 fans show up for the game. He was really thankful for the support that's been shown.
Good.
And he says that it's not bad for a team on a losing streak in the championship. It's 30,000 fans. So he was a bit like that at the start and wanted to thank the fans. He was upset that they couldn't reward the supporters with a good performance, with a 3 points or a good performance, or what he deemed to be a better performance. He then went on to talk about the players needing to kind of toughen up a little bit. and not be so fragile. And he said that he was just. He could tell he was just a little bit after the Lord Mayor show of him arriving. It didn't really pan out the way he wanted it to last week. He then spoke about injuries. So he spoke about Tom Davis, and he's got 45 minutes in his legs, I think, for the under-21s this week, which is a good sign, obviously.
Yeah.
But he did say, obviously, about the intensity of that not being up to doesn't mean he's ready for the first team. And he'd also remarked that Danny Ings has had a week's training into his legs, so he's been training with the team all week, which is a good sign. Again, wouldn't really commit on to whether he was going to be fit and firing for Saturday, but he did say that he'd got a week into his legs, which we can assume is good. And he did also say that he is trying to get some experience into the team. I don't know if that was a little wink and a nod towards certain selection choices at the weekend, possibly. I don't know, because it doesn't feel like
maybe Benjamin Me.
Benjamin Me. It could have been Benjamin
to
Me,
give him his proper name.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. It's hard,
Benjamin Moi.
It's difficult because he don't. Well, Benden didn't make the squad, did he? So
no.
So I don't think it's him. I think the thing is, if we do,
he's not going to be the experienced pick, though, is he? Let's be honest.
No, I know.
It's me or Ings, isn't it, that he's referring to, possibly. Maybe Tom Davis. Tom Davis is an experienced player. I know he's not the oldest, but he's an experienced pro, isn't he? So
yeah. It'd be hard to. I think it would be tricky if he does revert to the 3, which is being spoken about this week from certain quarters. Can name no names, but it's possible, isn't it? And,
I hope so, mate. I hope what we're hearing is right.
It's just about whether he puts Godfrey in or me. Is my thought. It'd be one of those as part of the 3 at the back, if you understand. If that's what he did revert.
I'd love to see Ben Mee involved. Godfrey could play on the right, you know. Godfrey could play on the right.
I think it'd suit him a bit better. I think it's the big spaces around him. So, because I made a point last night, me and Big Tone had a chat about the fullbacks and just saying, personally, I think that the players we've got don't really suit being part of a 4. So the two, I don't see us as having fullbacks, which says to me we're ready to play a 4. I think that we'd be better with a 3 and the 2 wing backs, because there's not as much responsibility on them to do a job. When we're getting broken on, and when we're getting when there's lots of space in front of their forwards and their wide and the opposition's wide players. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that, mate. He didn't give too much away, obviously. He did say it's not time to experiment. He says he needs to try and choose some tried and tested players who he can hang his hat on. He said that Brooksy rolled his ankle before the last game. That's why he wasn't involved. So he did update us on Brooksy's condition.
Okay. Still out then, I assume. Still out, I assume. Still out, I assume, then, if he's rolled his ankle.
Yeah.
He were in a boot, weren't he? So, yeah, can expect
he will be. Yeah,
international break coming up probably after that now for Brooksy. Okay.
Yeah, if you roll your ankle, mate, it's a few weeks into it. It's probably bruised and whatever. So, returning players, he was questioned on whether he'd like to drip feed them in. And he said he can't be reckless in this situation. Another sort of give us a little bit, then take a bit away again. He can't be reckless. Danny would be desperate to be put in. And he thinks that he was probably overworked in the build-up to the season when he joined, because he hadn't been...
he loves a little jab, doesn't he? He loves a little jab.
He said he had a hamstring injury as a result. So the mystery around that injury is gone. He did tell us it was a hamstring injury. And Tom Davis tweaked a calf muscle as well in the build-up to the season as well, which is shock horror. Yeah.
I know.
So yeah, but I think
I'm glad I sat down when you revealed that revelation, because otherwise I'd have been knocked off my feet. Like, so.
Can you
Tom
imagine
Davis
Tom
injured?
Davis getting tweaking a calf?
No. Tom Davis don't get injured.
But he did say as well, it's been a boost having him in and around the squad. So me, Davis, and Ings being in and around the squad has been big for the rest of the players, obviously, because you look across and you see someone who's been there and done it all Premier League proven players in the past. Yeah. And certainly he spoke a bit about having to dig in and also people across from you who are experienced in this situation and know that just because you have a few bad games, you're not necessarily a bad player, and you come out the other side of it. So you have these times, and then you get one good result, and then things can start to get better. And certainly, it feels like that's the problem at the moment, doesn't it? It's more about a confidence thing than a personnel issue, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, what's been happening this week to try and remedy the problem with the question? He said he had to lift and cajoled. He said about the team last week. Nice vocab from Wilder.
Nice.
And he's trying to lift some mentalities. He said he's been a little bit more stern this week. He used the term stern, and they've had a lot of stern meetings with the players as a result of what's happened. And he asked them, and he said what he did get out of them, the positive was that he did ask them to compete. And he said that they went from bottom of the standings in that respect to third or fourth in the division.
Nice.
So
that's good.
We saw an improvement there. Well,
so the game week we were up there.
That's right. Yeah, third or fourth in the division were his remarks.
Good.
And again, obviously, he admitted that he was slightly disappointed not with that part of the game, but more when we got the ball, and he referred to it as chaos. Sort of almost overstimulated in terms of not being able to put together the quality required when they got the ball. It was almost a little bit too desperate to do well, which again is better than not trying. But he says he thinks that was responsible for a bit of the lack of quality in the performance, I guess. He wants us to be competitive and win second balls, but he says there is a calmness that is required, certainly at this level, when the ball is in your possession. It can't be a hot potato. It has to be. You have to think about what you're doing, and that's the difference. And again, that's the difference in it between good players and average players. Is when you're under pressure. Have you got the calm head? They're all even at National League level. They're all technically quite proficient footballers. They've got a good first touch and they can play. But as you go up, you realise that the ones at the top have just got that little bit more. And
the composure in it.
We need to show a bit of that, they're professional footballers for a reason, and he said that they are professional and they need to go out and do their jobs, which is perform on a Saturday. Yeah. He says he thinks that the players were confused on the messaging, similar to last week, and he needs to simplify those messages. Have a little jab there. He said,
is it Sayers Bingo? Did we get it's not played on a laptop? Did we get that this week?
Mate, we'd have had 2 full houses on Wilder Bingo today, mate. No doubt about it. We'd have had the lot, full house twice.
Nice.
He said about he said that the players are paid to go and get 3 points, and they've got to do that now. They're professional footballers. They're paid to do a job, and now they've got to they've got to do their job that they're paid to do. So I think that comes through. And he said we've done that through meetings and players having to stand up. He then said we need a big performance, need calmness and a bit of processing what they're doing, and not turning the ball over so cheaply. He says he doesn't want it to go from one team to the other. He wants us to keep the ball and have some sustained pressure, because that's when you get your rewards for what you put, all the effort you're putting in. He said he thought the first 30 minutes of the game on last week was decent, and then it became all frantic. He was then asked about Oxford. He shut that down. He said, don't want to talk about Oxford. We need to focus on ourselves. He says the championship has been quite unusual. There's been a lot of results that that have been eyebrow raisers since the season started. He said that Gary, he had a lot of admiration for him over in Oxford, but he also said Gary Rout will realise that we can light a fire, is the term that he used at Sheffield United. If we've got the ability to go there and cause upset, and he'll know that if they don't turn up and we do, then it's going to be curtains for them. So it was kind of he was saying he has respect for what they've done, and obviously they've had a couple of really good results recently, along with some mixed results before that. But he said that Gary Rout will be he'll be ready because he'll realise that Sheffield United at some point are going to ignite, and he'll just hope it isn't this weekend.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, he was then asked about Guillaume Ramos, our new coach. Our new first team coach that's been appointed.
Left field choice that for me. I wasn't expecting a foreign coach appointment, if I'm honest. Don't know whether it shows progression from Wilder, whether it's a club influence thing. Maybe you're about to shed some light on that, mate.
Well, he said he's been considering that position for quite a long time. He said he's been thinking about what was going to happen, and he goes on to say something more about that in a minute. He says he then went on to talk about Gus and Ty. I'll leap forward and talk to him about the. No, I won't. I'll carry on. Gus and Ty have shown massive improvement this week. So
good.
And he referred to them as two of our best players, and he's just seen a big improvement this week.
Agreed.
So you can well imagine that they're starting.
Yeah.
But he did say that everybody has to work harder. He was asked about freshening it up with Guillaume, and he says he's been thinking about that for a while. And basically then insinuated that he would be going with him as a coach wherever he went. So if he didn't come back to Sheffield United, he would have been a coach that went with him wherever, because there's a bit of a follow-up question about that. Did you feel the need to freshen things up?
Okay.
And he said, why was he the choice? And he said, because he's adding something different to the group in terms of experience, the leagues he's worked in, cultures and environments. He's trying to bring something, a different flavour to the table. Obviously under him and his say so and what he wants to do, but he referred to him having a lot more experience than people might give him credit for, because he's been working internationally, hasn't he? And he worked at Forest, didn't he, for a while as well?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So
assistant manager, I think he's been at Forest. All his positions, I'm pretty sure, were assistant manager up until this being a first team coach job. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Also worked at Botdev Plovdiv, I believe.
Yeah, I think he did, because when he the first part, he did say there's been some speculation. You could tell he was a bit exasperated by the speculation around the appointment, as in it wasn't his choice, so it was done by somebody else.
Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, there's some connection to a board, whether he's still an existing board member, we're yet to clarify, but James Board, who has had some part to play in the Sheffield United consortium, he has or had a stake in Botdev Plovdiv, this Bulgarian side. We've signed Mikhail Pelendikov from there. I think that's where we signed Ukaki from. It might be where we signed Achukwu from. I lose track, to be honest, and that's my fault. But now we're getting a former assistant manager from there as well. So you can see where the link comes in terms of people thinking it's a club initiative rather than a Chris Wilder appointment. But if he's come out and said, look, I'd have taken him wherever I go, I find it a really interesting one, because I don't think he's... We talk a lot about culture with Chris. Sorry, mate, and I'll come back to you, but I just think we haven't really had a chance to speak on this appointment. It just surprises me, not because he's a foreign coach, but because Wilder's so big on culture, and I think he knows what he knows, and I think he usually has we used to joke about as being Brexit FC, didn't we? And I think he's certainly widened his palette in terms of the playing staff. Vinny and Anel, who he got playing really well last season, but we've yet to see a foreign coach come and be involved in this domestic setup. So obviously we had Ruben Sayers coming in as manager, but it's now a domestic coach coming in under Chris Wilder, which is something we haven't seen. So I'm interested to see what we can get out of Ramos as well as a coach, and see if it does bring any sort of different flair to us. He obviously thinks he's the right personality to fit in, and like you say, it brings a wealth of experience from different countries, doesn't he? So it'd be interesting to see. Sorry, mate, you crack on.
Yeah, but I think that's quite an interesting point you make there, because I think it's something that a lot of the best managers have always done, is kind of rotate. They don't rotate themselves, do they? But they can rotate. They can rotate the man sat next to him, and or in who's part of the setup
in the team. Yeah, Fergie did it a lot, didn't
he? Yeah, Fergie did it, and it brings freshness, new ideas. Because success is great, but you get nothing if you're standing still. So if you're I'm not saying that the same people can't be involved, but new people bring new ideas, and some of those might be good or bad. But again, that's for Wilder to judge and decide what he thinks is a good new idea and what isn't.
Agreed.
So I'm all for freshening things up, because I think coaches can make a big difference. Well,
the last coach appointed from outside the club to the first team was Keith Andrews, and he's now Brentford's new manager. So it's not about. I mean, I know it's a completely different appointment, this, But in terms of going out and getting the right people in, that wouldn't have had one, would it? Because he's obviously done quite well in his career following his stint at Sheffield United. So, yeah, fingers crossed this can be another positive appointment for us.
Yeah, he says the question was that about new coaches, new faces trying to freshen up the scenery, and he said, well, this gives us a chance to change systems and ways of playing. He said, there we go, get your bingo card out. He can coach every system, not just one.
Got it.
But he did say that the values remain the same, and it's hard work and his non-negotiables remain the same no matter what. But yeah, I think there was an allusion to coaching a new system, and we know that he can. So, because he has done, and it's evolved since he started, and he wanted to make that point again. So yeah, and he was then asked about the captaincy from Tanganga, and he says he's got a calmness and maturity. He's impressed everybody. And he's somebody who leads by example. And he referred to you don't have to be a big shouter to be a captain.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He referred to that. He was then quizzed on whether it was a difficult conversation with Gus, who he took it away from. And he said, and this was probably this. I'm not interested in rubbing people's heads, is what he said. At that point, which I had to have a little chuckle at.
His best player, but I'm not interested in telling him I'm sorry about this. Again, just got to crack on.
He said he made the point that the team's been underperforming, and he's had a lot of stern conversations this week.
I'm not interested in rubbing heads. It's all right, Gus. We're going to take it off you for now, mate. We're going to take it off you for now.
I'll take that, Gus. Straight off his arm. To be fair, though, I think he alluded to it, didn't he, last week, that he probably thought that, we knew we were
going to change it, didn't we? Because he sort of mentioned, let Gus concentrate on his own game, that sort of thing. He drops that in ante. He likes to leave these little Easter eggs for us, doesn't he? So it'll be interesting to see if Ben Mee does come in, which I think there's half a chance he does actually this weekend. Whether he gets the arm, I think it's too soon now. I think Tanganga will keep it, won't he? I think Tanganga will be the on-field captain, which...
Yeah.
I get it.
He did kind of allude to saying that Tanganga can be, if you look around his performances and his... he alluded to... He didn't quite say it, but he sort of danced around the idea that Tanganga's the only one who can keep his head up in that dressing room at the minute. And say that I've been doing a job. So...
Don't go hiding, does he?
He didn't quite say that, but that's the way I felt that he was insinuating a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that in terms of he's not your traditional captain, and I think I even mentioned it on the countdown to kickoff. But I don't understand why you gave him. I understand it, but I weren't shocked. But I don't know if he's a captain for me. I can understand if there were going to be a reasoning for it, though. It's the example that he leads on the field, isn't it? Because he's certainly not like your old school captain, like a Ben Mee, like a Billy Sharp, who's an organiser and a talker, but he does lead by example, and his performances speak for themselves. So, yeah, I can understand it, and if it's more than, obviously, he's boss anyway, so he will go whatever he wants, but I think it's fully justifiable, that.
Yeah, he's one of the best players. He plays at the back. He's in a good spot to do it.
Best defender, isn't he? Best defender, I think.
In front of him. He's played for Tottenham. He's the I'm not worried about that appointment at all, and I don't think it will make a huge problem. He's then asked about Ben Mee. As a player he wants to play. He says he came in late. He said he won't gamble because Ben Mee's here all season. 40 games or whatever still to go. He says Ben's been training well. He got 60 minutes for the under-21s, which again he referred to as not the level of the championship, obviously. And he says people have always got an opportunity to impress me. Everything they do, whenever they're around the training ground, whenever they're part of the club, they've got an opportunity to impress me. So I think he was trying to send Ben Mee a message, make me pick you, effectively. I think was what he was trying to say about Ben Mee. Clearly, it's all there. He needs. For me, I'd love Ben Mee to come in and have a couple of really strong performances, even if it's off the bench.
I was going to say how he's right that 21s is nowhere near the same level or intensity. But how do you get that if you're not going to play in the match day squad?
And I think he will. And I think that if someone said to it, if Godfrey gets picked instead of him, Ben Mee could easily turn around and go, "Well, so has he impressed you since he came in and he started watching?" That's the question I'd be asking if I was Ben Mee.
Yeah,
if I had a pop at it and he gets picked ahead of you, he's had a car crash obviously at Ipswich, and then Alan Partridge the next game. So
Alan Partridge. I think Ben Mee will be all right in a back three.
Me too. I think Godfrey will. I think Godfrey will be better in a back three as well.
No, sorry, I meant Godfrey, but obviously Ben Mee will. I think Godfrey will be all right in a back three. So we'll see.
I think they'll both be all right, Jim.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. So then he was on about Tom and Danny and Ben, and minutes was part of the question. Will they be getting minutes? And he says, do you rely on them to know their bodies better? He said, yeah. They know themselves. They've been around the block, and they know if they're up to it or if they're not. He thinks that they would, they'd tell him it one way or the other. And he says there's 40 games left to play, so we don't want to put them in too early. And he wants to be sensible. Wants to make sure that they're going to be long-term available as opposed to rushing them in.
Tom Davies, long-term available. Who are you kidding?
Yeah.
Who are you kidding?
Well, yeah, Tom Davies, that is funny. But then there's Blaster. He said, what about Blaster?
Oh, yes.
Would that be the same with him? He said, no, he'd play now. If I told him to get his boots, he'd run out and play now. He says, I have to rely on the medical team when it comes to Blaster. He says, because
I don't trust him. I trust other two lads to be pros, but I don't trust him.
Yeah, he's got a long career ahead of him. His enthusiasm probably gets the better of him, and we have got to be careful with him. Was his next point.
Yeah.
He then went on to say about do you rely on the are you going to be relying on these older pros? He says the responsibility is on the players to show their character. We shouldn't have to rely on players like that who've been around and done it to pull ourselves out of this situation. The players have to show some character and get on with it. Players like Siddy, he's never been in this situation before. He's a young player and hasn't seen it before, but he must stand up and be counted, were his words about young players in this team. And if they want to stay in this team, has it been giving you a chance to get used to the newer players? With having like a sterner week with the players. He said it's a cutthroat industry. They're paid to produce performances. And he says he knows how to manage the players. They've got to be professional, and they've got to go out on Saturday afternoon and win football matches. He says, have you been pleased with training? I think this is where he'd over-egged it a little bit last week, where we said, well, there's been some good signs. He said, I thought I was a bit too ambitious to say or think it would be free-flowing football in the first game. And we need calmness in our play, and we need to grind out some results. And it might not be pretty, but we need to grind out results we need to grind out points and get results before the next international break, and we get more time. And then he said, and then the media guy went, right then, lads. And as soon as he said it, they got up and sprinted out of the like a bat out of hell, mate. He was like, I'm out of it. Right. See you later. Thanks, lads. Off you get, man.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because obviously I were at 90 Day Planning today at Sheffield United, actually, ironically, because that's where they all did it, the majority of their events. And he came on at 1:15, I think it was, weren't it? So he came on.
It was late.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, they were due on at 1:15, and we broke for lunch at 1. So I managed to get it on my phone, patchy signal, but I couldn't hear it. So I could just see his stern face. I thought he were quite sort of deadpan today. He didn't, not so much grumpy, but like no sort of joking about with journalists like he sometimes does. And I think that's right. I think it's appropriate. We've lost 6 on spin, and I think it's down to business, isn't it? Maybe he'll have a laugh and a joke with him when we pick up a couple of wins now. But is that the general vibe? That it's all business now?
I think that he knows at this point that he's fielding questions where he has to do a lot of scripted answering, if you know what I mean. And it's hard for him to do what he likes to do, and that's stick his chest out and beat it and go, we're Sheffield United, and like bull up everything, because we're in a tricky spot. I feel like that's part of the reason we did it at the time we did it, because he probably had a time limit on how long he could be there before he had to get on a coach. So because it is very, like you were saying, it's very, very late. Usually done the day before. He's waited till the last possible second and sprinted out the room. And I think they didn't want to be there, basically.
Yeah, so they'll be in Oxford tonight, won't they? They'll be there. It won't be, they'll be on their way now, I would have thought. So it's like
they'll be on the way. So again, I'm not surprised he was running out of the presser, but I think he's done that on purpose, because I don't think he wanted to be there, to be honest. Because there's not a lot he can gain from it, is there?
That's right. It's not a lot to say, is there? I suppose he'll get general updates, and like you said, maybe going through motions a little bit, I suppose. But it's, for us fans that want to hear about it, we need to know where we are with stuff and what he's thinking as well. And this is always a little window into how he's feeling about things, and the way I think they do really well. The journalist, like Radio Sheffield boys and Danny. I don't think Danny All were there today. I don't know, but
I think he was.
Oh, was he? All right. So sorry, I didn't see anything from him. That's all. But I think they always do quite well to tease stuff out of him. They don't give him anything he won't want to, but I think they generally get the mood right in terms of how he's feeling. So we can usually reflect on whether we think there's going to be a change and things like we're hearing on grapevine, aren't we, that there might be a formation change. It's interesting to me that he's saying stuff like he might have to sort of fall back on experienced heads, but then it's, will Ben Mee get into the lineup? Some of the stuff he says leans towards maybe, some of the stuff, and that's part of the fun, I think, in terms of us second guessing what he's going to do. I'd love to see a change this weekend in formation. I think it will surprise Oxford. I think it's a formation that a lot of the players will be comfortable playing as well. What do you think? What do you think happens this weekend, mate? What do you think? How do you think we set up? How do you think score's going to go?
Well, I think it'll be a different game. I think there'll be an emphasis on being slightly more direct. I think he might go with two up front this week, because I think he's realising that there's nothing that in an attacking sense we've been nowhere near it. That's the first thing. We haven't been great at the back, really, and I think I wasn't surprised he went with the formation that he played before and because of the players he had that he played before. I think this week he might have been trying to change it. I think the personnel dictates a little bit that we revert back to something different personally, and also how ineffective we've been as an attacking force says to me I think we've got to make a couple of changes in that respect. Again, I alluded to it last night. I think that it'll be an unusual game there, in that even going there in the past, I think that Oxford might have had a bit more of a plan for us in the past, where I think they'll be focusing on what they can do, because they're actually doing a lot better than we are at the moment.
Yeah.
So, and a great result away at Bristol, obviously, as well, which threw everybody off. And it's kind of, I think Oxford will come out confident that they can come and beat us, and that could be their undoing, and that could be a difference maker, in that if they're a bit overconfident almost. I
think playing away helps us. I think playing away helps us when we're in a sticky spot like this.
I do, because when you look at your team sheet and you think there's still plenty here. There's plenty here to turn these lot over. But we do have to see a massive change in the performances, because we haven't seen a performance this season that is a winning performance, and we certainly need to get more shots away. We certainly need to see something in the attacking third that gets us going a little bit, in terms of we need someone to take a chance. We need one of our better players to take a chance to settle everybody down, and hopefully then we can see a little bit more. If we get 3 centre halves on the pitch as well, let's do something with a set piece, because that has been a real weak point for us. I think in recent times we don't attack the ball very well at corners, and you'd think if we had 3 big lads who can head a ball, Jaffet was getting on the end of things. They weren't going in the right direction, but he was the other game. If he can calm down with where he directs those headers, if he can even put it back into the mixer, you can always get a scramble on at that point. And I think, again, if you watch the matches, and I said this, I think that we need to get more players in the box. So we need players bursting their lungs to get into that box. You can't score off your bum if you're not stood somewhere near the goal.
Absolutely right.
We've got to make our own look, and it's we need when the guy looks up in a good position to cross the ball, He don't want one option. He wants 3 options, and he wants a chance to score, because it's just been missing, mate. We've got to go there. If we're going to win, we've got to show a completely different performance to what we've shown this season. But again, we've got the players, so I'm just hopeful. I'm hopeful that we've got something up our sleeve, and he's been working on something to get us going, because we know he can do.
He can, mate. He can. I want to say thank you to Ian, who's been a member for 25 months, a Rambler for 25 months. Thank you, pal. Up the blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. He says, Big Tone, your partner from last night, says, looking forward to tomorrow, just getting my things ready as I take Little G out tonight, and Blackburn and Preston tickets are out, and got to keep the brownie points up to date. Yes, you have, pal. Yeah, you do then. You'll get the work in. Dave Morwood says, afternoon, Jimmy and Paul. I'm not mentioning live on the internet. Oh, damn. Up the blades, up all the rambles. Like and subscribe, please. Hype. Matty says, will he change the team lineup? Said having the experienced players around is vital. Again, Paul, you're better leaning into that than me, because I don't know the context or the tone behind it. It's an assumption anyway, isn't it, as to how he says stuff. But you think there is the potential that a Ben Mee, or you said 2 up top, you think it'd be 2 up top? Will Danny Ings make it into the lineup maybe?
No. I think we'll see. Ings will be back on the bench. I think is my gut. I think he'll play Cannon, and definitely Campbell, based on the comment he made. I'd like him to play Cannon. He might play O'Hare and Hamer, but I'd like him to play Cannon and Hamer personally. And I'd like him to drop O'Hare to get him off the bench later on. I'd really like to see Matos and Samari, but we know he loves Peck. I think Peck might need to re-earn his place in this team, and it might just get him going again a little bit to think that he has to fight for a spot. I think I'll Benny on the right of that, and stick with Burrows. I've got a feeling he'll go with Godfrey over me in a 3 at the back.
Don't really lean into the experience thing though, does it? Unless he means around the squad in general. So
yeah, I know it was the won't rush anyone back comments, and not take any risks, but not at the right level. I think he brings Ben Mee on. I think he's going to drip feed him in. I think he's going to bring him on with half an hour to go, and then get him up to speed. It was just the way he, when asked about Ben Mee, he was talking about needs to impress, and he I don't know. I just feel like he'll go with a 3, and it might be Godfrey on the right of those 3.
Okay, mate. Brett says, looks like we might go to a back 5 with wing backs, grind a result out and stop the rot. It will come, lads. Positive mind, positive results. Love that, Brett. Will says, really, really hope we get the first point of the season. I think it's going to be a 1 apiece, to be fair, this game. What's your prediction, mate?
I'm going to say 2-1 Blades.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Matt says, Sterner message this week. Time for 1 or 2 to step up this weekend, up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Thank you, pal. Brett says, would you say this is a game that starts the must-not-lose stage? Yeah, it's definitely a must-not-lose, this, Brett. Definitely a must-not-lose. Some would say must-win, but I think it's definitely a must-not-lose game. Joe says, afternoon, Jim. Hope you and the family are well. I am, thank you, mate. Hope you are too. Away in Fuerteventura, and hoping them Blades don't ruin a day of my holiday tomorrow. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, Joe, mate. Have a good holiday, pal. Hope they can get the points for you. Mark Meldrew says, nothing I didn't expect Wilder to say. It's must not lose for me. Need to start picking results up and fast. Not confident, but we'll take anything at this stage. James says, after listening to the presser, feeling more confident in a good result tomorrow. Hopefully not famous last words. He always tends to turn the majority of us round. And I think when it gets to this stage of game week and you've heard Wilder talk, I think we're always 9 times out of 10 up for it again. Correct me if I'm wrong, mate, but it's the vicious circle of being a Sheffield United fan, isn't it?
I get the feeling that it's from the whole thing. He wants actions rather than words now. Talk's a little bit cheap at this stage, isn't it? And until somebody's put 3 points on that board for us, and we've shown people that we're here to fight, compete, and we can play with some quality, make some chances. I think he just wants his team to perform now, because it's hard to stand there and bang a drum when you haven't had that kind of performance at all this season. And it's not all his fault, obviously, but I think he just wants something to talk about positive from a performance on the pitch. Was the vibe that I got, and I think that's what he's going to ask his players for.
Good stuff, mate. I think that's probably about right from what you've said. I'll always get fired up after a presser and get overconfident. We're going to batter these, says Jack. I'm really hoping he changes it to a back three. We've tried this formation for a full season, and we couldn't get our midfield and attack to click. We suit a three at the back, and Gus looks very happy again, he says. I think I disagree, Jack, in terms of it didn't work last season, because, again, I go back to the points total. It wasn't free-flowing attacking football, I'll give you that, but it was successful football. So I think it did work. It's certainly not currently working. So something needs to change. That doesn't necessarily have to be the formation, but I think it's a more drastic change that a lot of us are calling for, because we need drastic changes in terms of results. Luke says, with the jabs, you can tell he's annoyed at what Sayers has done to these players mentally. Yeah, he's always been one for a jab, Auntie. I do like that about him, to be honest. He's a bit spiky. Robert says, let's just have a positive performance and hope we have a bit of luck to get the result. Up the Blades, I know we can turn it around. We definitely can. Kim says, hiya lads, is Ings fit for tomorrow, do you think? Well, Paul's confirmed that he's trained all week. That was what Wilder was saying, so we're hoping that he's back in the squad. I would be surprised to see him in the starting lineup, but I think he'll be fit to make the squad. J619 says, he does, Jack, totally agree in terms of getting you pumped, I assume, and looks trimmer too. That pick with Gus on the training ground steps. Crying out for three at the back with our centre-backs, and Godfrey will be better in a three. Raksaki and Burrow's best position in those wing-back positions. When you say Raksaki, do you mean Femi Sariki? Because Raksaki don't play for us anymore. But yeah, I understand the point. Dave Blademan says, love the presses that Wilder does. Players have got to be inspired. I think I'll be in tears tomorrow if United win. You and me both, pal. Jack says, I'm just hoping we don't have another Rob Holding on our hands. Don't say that. Don't say that. Alessandro says, would be nice to see a shape change and a back three. Also nice to see a spine including me, Tom Davis and Ings. I think it's going to be a bit late, certainly for Tom Davis and Ings, just from the update that Paul's given. And it's more hope than expectation about Ben Mee, to be honest. So we'll wait and see. Jack says, anyone know about the noise around Harry Souttar? Danny Hall released an article a couple of days ago saying that there's still a great mutual appreciation from both Harry Souttar to United and United to Harry Souttar. So we'll look at it again in January, which I think is really positive. Because if he's anything like the player that we've seen previously, which we don't know because he's had a bad injury, I think firstly Leicester will be daft to entertain him coming to us. We don't need another centre-half, but he's undoubtedly... Can you imagine him and Tanganga together in middle?
Yeah, it's the sides, mate, that I worry about. I'm not worried about centre-back.
Yeah, I know, but Harry Souttar coming in with Tanganga, you'd be hard pressed to get a better pairing in the league, wouldn't you?
You would, but it's a position we're well covered in at the minute.
It is.
I don't think it'll be if it becomes available and it's at the right price, I can see the club moving for it, but I can't think that that's going to be the main priority. I think I've already said it. Central midfield, obviously, and I think we need quite a couple of fullbacks, one on either side.
Completely agree, mate. Completely agree. Wyburn Blade says, Gus Eamon moved out of his apartment today. I'm assuming somewhere else in Sheffield, as he can't leave until January, but still. Tom Brammer says, on holiday tomorrow, got a 4-hour flight at 5 p.m. Please, lads, don't spoil my holiday before I've even got on the plane. Wilder's first win for us in League One was against Oxford. I'm 90% sure. Yeah, somebody said that on a previous stream. I think you're right, James. Paul, the Blade in Spain, says, afternoon, Jimmy and Paul. Great show last night, by the way. As if Wyburn Blade says Gus has moved out of his flat. It's probably only to be nearer to his favourite kebab shop. Up the Blades, up all the rambles. Like and subscribe. Lee Edridge says, got a feeling we nicked something here. Wilder's manner sounded direct and businesslike as he used to. Hopefully go 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2, as you and I and many have spoken about before. Up the Blades, up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Hype! Nige says, afternoon, gents. Hope all's well. It's a must-win now, nothing else. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble, up Ramble FC. I am on Ramble FC tonight, actually, watching West Brom against Leicester City. So there you go. And then back on tomorrow before the Oxford game, watching Birmingham and Cov. Hardest worker on YouTube, me, mate, I tell you. I'd definitely start Ings and Campbell. I would if they were both fit. I'm not sure they will be, Tom, to be honest. Bring Cannon on if needed, depending on Ings' fitness. Jack says it worked and it didn't. We could put games to bed and create that's the same right now, but the difference is our defence should control games. Imagine Tanganga with Suter, but we need another quality centre midfielder. Yes, we do. James says, against sides like Oxford and Charlton, who aren't necessarily awful sides, but difficult to play against and hard to break down, we probably need a 3 at the back system. Important to be flexible, depending on the sides. And the last couple of comments are from Brett, who says, do you think there's a big playoff hangover? Went from being third with 90 points to this. Something doesn't add up, even with the manager changes. I think it's what's the word? A perfect storm, or whatever the word is. I think it's loads of, you could use any excuse or reason behind it. You could say it's a playoff hangover. You could say it's the manager change. You could say it's the poor activity early doors in the transfer market. There's a few different ingredients that go into a disastrous start to the season, but I think we've rectified what we can for now, and we're confident we've got the right man. And the last one was from Tom, who says, Ben Mee could hobble into this defence. Mind you, so could Rob Holding last year. Oh, sorry, Craig's just commented as well, saying, hi, Jim. Still watching in Turkey. Love the commitment, pal. Didn't see too much from Wilder's first game. Hopefully a week on the training ground will make a difference. I fancy us for a 1-0 win. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Nice one, mate. Well, thank you so much for covering the press conference. I know it's one of the more difficult shows we do, just because of how quick you have to get the information down. So appreciate you picking that up for us, mate, when I was unavailable to do so. Yeah, no and keeping us all informed as to what Chrissy Wilder had to say about United.
Yeah. Just praying for a result now, mate. Just praying for a result.
So what we're saying, you're saying 2-1. I think it'd be 1 apiece. My head says 1 apiece. My heart says 1-0 United. So,
mate, we need to start doing something. We can't be 10 games in with Jack Hall on the board, mate.
I know. Who's Jack Hall?
He's just this lad that I know.
He's got honours board.
Yeah, he's got nothing. He's got no stuff.
Right. On that note, we're going to call it. Thank you to everybody for your comments today. Thank you to Paul for covering Hot of the Presser. I'll be back on Ramble FC around 7:30ish, I think, tonight for the West Brom Leicester game. So I'll see you there. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Up the Blades.
Shout out